Welcome to the Chris Hanna Show.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Chris Hanna Show. Are you looking to take your service business to the next level? Do you want to learn the secrets of maximizing your assets and boosting sales? Well, then this is the episode that you need to listen to. I am speaking today with serial entrepreneur, expert advisor, Rob M Lyon. With over 17 years of experience in the franchise service industry, a track record of producing over $35 million in sales, Rob really shares his knowledge and experience with service businesses around the US and beyond. But not only is he a sales trainer and a mentor, he's also a review evangelist, which we'll dive into, the author of the book, Welcome to the Review Society and Service Without Excuses, and his podcast as well. He really shares his passion for reviews, reputation growth programs, and how to discover how you can achieve service without excuses. Welcome to the show, Rob. I am so happy to have you on here today.
I'm truly honored to be here, man. Thanks so much for having me.
So, Rob, let's start off out of the gate. You called yourself a serial entrepreneur. What does that mean to you? Tell me about your journey. How did you really start to build out your own businesses?
Well, there's a saying that you only need to get it right once. You like to get it right a few times, but there's only once you got to get it right. So my story started several years ago. I spent 17 years working for franchise companies, service companies, disaster restoration, carpet cleaning field, respectively. And in 2005, I said, you know what, it's time. I'm going to go ahead and start my own thing. And I started my first business, Clean Force One, back in Pennsylvania. That did very well. I ended up selling it in 2013. Moved to New York City and partnered with a friend of mine and started a business from scratch. Now, clearly, if you hear my accent, which I actually do have one, I'm not from Staten Island. I'm not from New York. So when you're going and talking to somebody from there, it's a little tougher. You buy a lousy mailing list, you knock on doors, you figure out where the locations are, and you market. So that's old school. You just, there's no playbook for that. You just go place to place. And I learned how to identify and, of course, talk to people and identify traits of why people wanted to purchase from us. And I had to do it without the lack of knowledge of being a New Yorker. And that was a true lesson to me. We built that business up to do about 1.2 million after a year. And then I decided in 2018, when I met my wife, to come to New Jersey and start my third service company here, New Jersey's Best Carpet and Tile Cleaning, New Jersey's Best Services, which is a full service carpet tile cleaning. And we do some paver cleaning and hard surface cleaning stuff as well. So the serial entrepreneur is just because I've physically done it multiple times. Thank God I've had good success with every single one. It's been a system and procedures and things in place. One of the things I wrote about in Service Without Excuses was those methodologies and things that were in there in those procedures and systems. In fact, a lot of people get them for their company, for their techs, to get a mindset kind of idea when it comes to hiring people and what they want. And they'll give them a copy of this and say, it's a little small book. You got to read it in about an hour. I'm paying you for it. Just go over it. And this is what I'm looking for out of you as a technician. So that's kind of where it goes. And then, of course, I launched my own business also here, Rob M Lyon, around the same time. So moved to Jersey and made a few major jumps.
Did you know that you always at some point wanted to create your own business? Like, was there that entrepreneurial traits? Did you have that like when you were a lot younger, or is that just like it after 17 years, you're like, okay, I'm just going to do this? Like, what inspired you to really take that leap?
Absolutely not. I was very happy and well taken care of for these company jobs. It is a lot easier to go on your own, as you know, to start and leave the comfort of having, all of those advantages to running a business. I ran a company. I ran a multi-million-dollar a year company before I ever opened my own. The problem was I didn't understand how to start my own business. So it was a humbling experience to spend a bunch of money on what was the Yellow Pages at the time, the phone book, and put stuff out there to realize your return on investment was pretty poor. It was around 2005. So it was in the dying stages at that time before they really got into the internet. And I had to learn, what worked, what seemed to work over and over again, what was happening. But I was very happy working for, and my aunt, which tragically passed away a short time afterwards, was basically had a, come to Jesus talk, if you want to call it, and said, Rob, I think you've got the brains and the desire to be an entrepreneur. You know how to do it. You have the dedication. You're already doing it for somebody else. I know you got some struggles and things going on there with that. You're the kind of person that just kind of digs in and keeps going, but maybe now's the time you can do it. You're just a little over 30 at that time. I think it's a good idea. So the long-winded answer is absolutely not.
I do think it's interesting though when you talk about with your aunt. Like sometimes it's just having that right conversation with the right person that can really inspire you to take action, to maybe have that maybe new thought in your head, or that belief in yourself that you need. That, you know what, maybe I'm gonna kind of roll the dice and maybe go all in and try and do something here.
That's what it is. And you have it or you don't have it. Like, not everybody in the world is designed to be an entrepreneur, is designed to be in business for themselves. And it's not for everyone. I do favor people doing it. I subscribe to Gary Vee's thing. You should give it a shot. You should try it. If it's not for you, it's not for you. Work with somebody, be part of an organization, be a tremendous asset. But if it is for you, it's something you should give yourself a fair shot at and say, listen, let me try it. I'm going to get it wrong. I'm going to get it wrong a lot, like I've done, like every other successful entrepreneur has gotten done. We've definitely got way more wrong than way more right. But again, you only need to be right about a few things. And at the end of the day, really one thing, the success of your business.
When you think about that journey that you have been on through the various businesses, is there a particular setback that you maybe had, or a challenge that you're like, once you overcame it, it really started to click? Or is there some lesson that you really took away like early on there that made a huge difference for you to see things completely different?
Absolutely. So there were lessons were the first one, starting from scratch, starting my own business, not being prepared, just, used to running somebody else's thing. I didn't realize the famous saying, it's your own money. And when it's your own money on the line, you got to figure that out. So that was a good thing. One of the lessons I learned in 2013, I went through a pretty rough divorce. That business I had to sell in order to settle that divorce, because where I was at, we started the business same time, even though she wasn't actively involved in it, had to do it. That's just what it was. So that was a lesson. I had to learn that you can't be wrapped up 7 days a week. I know we were joking before about, do I actually get sleep? Because I'm constantly, trying to engage in things. But back then it really was a 24/7 business. That's what I had. And when it's 24/7 business, you don't really have this shut off point. Believe me when I say, Chris, I am 1,000 times better today than I was back then. Back then, any day off I'd have that I could have been spent with my spouse would have been working or going to look at job sites or something else. So the biggest lesson I will say is you have to find a work-life balance. And when people say, well, that's bullshit. You have to find a work-life balance. You can't enjoy life. And if you're working so much that doesn't matter if you're going to live or die in 6 months from now, then you really have an issue. You got to look yourself in the mirror and say, you know what, this isn't probably for me. If you don't enjoy life, life is short. As I just explained, my aunt passed away shortly afterwards. She was healthy as can be and then passed away from cancer within a very short time. And that really taught me, or should have taught me, I should say at the time, that life was precious and make sure that is the forefront. It didn't. It took the divorce and learning that from the past to move forward. Many entrepreneurs have been there. More than I know more that do than are not. So, and have not gone through it. So it's a lesson you learn. Every business you start, you learn lessons. Everyone is a little bit different. When I started these 3 businesses, the first one is in rural Pennsylvania. I don't know about in Canada, but this is a low populated area. I mean, entire counties are 250,000 people tops. When I went to New York, you're talking 10 million people, a lot of good messages. Everybody's pitching everything. Everybody's talking to everybody. And the one thing I had on my side was that systematic approach and integrity. And if I told you I was going to do something, it was going to get done. So if I made a relationship with a referral partner, they knew it was going to be taken care of. Even my business partner would say, better you to talk to them because they know you're a person of your word. And that helped because we had one referral partner that went to 2, that went to 5, that went to 7, that went to 10. Before we knew it, we had really dominated Staten Island. Staten Island's the smallest part, but there's still 500,000 people there. The lessons you learn from it is the message you got to give to them, the word that you have, the delivering the consistent result, and being a person of your word and integrity. And if a person has to say they have integrity, usually they don't. You don't have to tell somebody this. This is just something you live your life by.
Totally
and
true.
I found that really seems to work best for what I've done in the past. So there's many lessons. We could be here a long time, but I would say learn that work-life balance. It's very, very important to know the difference. I'm now considerably older than when I first went into business. And if I look back then, like a lot of people say, you tend to get a little bit wiser about that, or you better be smarter with your time.
Well, you've mentioned like systems and processes with regards to businesses, but I'm guessing the same thing kind of applies to the work-life balance piece as well. Like finding that almost that system and process for your own life, that you can have the balance to do what you need on your business, but also to have the life that you want. Like it seems like you probably mixed the two together, right?
You have to designate your time. So my background was in a 24/7 restoration business, if I didn't say that before, and things were unpredictable. So we didn't know 5 minutes from now, let alone 5 hours from now, what was going to change. So you had to get very, very good about time management, and time management is a form of a system. So everything you're doing is a system. When you get up and you walk out the door, it's a system. You physically walked out the door. Everything is a position. One of the things I teach people is positioning, and they often think immediately, well, positioning and branding, aren't they like the two kind of same things? And they have nothing to do with one another. There's so many variables out there that people need to understand when they're trying to position their life or put a system in their life, that you have to utilize it the best way you possibly can for you and your family. And that is the most important thing at the end of the day, because you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. You go outside, you get in a truck, and a bus comes down and takes you out. There's no guarantee. And I'm not being the Grim Reaper when I say that, but that's the reality of the world. So you make the most of your time when you're there, and when you're not, you're not. I make a commitment to my wife that when I'm done, I'm done. Now, I'm not always faithful on that thing. So as you know, I'll tend to post and things, but I do tend to watch TV and then just put the devices out, and then every once in a while I'll pick them up, and she goes, there you go. But she does know I'm not doing stupid things on there. I'm doing it to build out, a value and help people out with things. And I get a lot of direct messages, like I'm sure you do, of just entrepreneurs that say, hey, can I run something by you? And hence that's why the book Service Without Excuses came out, is can I run something by you based on your background? So that's kind of what I'd say about that.
Well, I think it's kind of funny. Like, it just, as you're saying, it's the same thing that happens in my world too, right? Like I'm jumping on, trying to engage with people, but then I've also realized I have to really, for myself, set up my phone that I have no notifications come through during certain hours. So therefore, I'm not going to be interrupted or pulled away from something that I probably should be focusing on, like, spending time with my wife. Like, I'm not going to be distracted. Like, I have to put in those boundaries, because if I don't, it can be all consuming, especially as you're trying to, as you say, work with your own money as you're trying to build out a business. Like, you have to find that balance, and that's critical, and that's important.
Yep. I mean, I do multiple things. I'm also a musician, so I don't play as much as I used to, but I still play 60 plus shows a year. I still run a multi-truck service company. I still do this. Now I've got other people in this side of it. It's just me. But on other sides of what I do, I've got other people that are partners with it. So you have to be really good at your time when you're running multiple things at the same time, and you're involved in multiple things at the same time, and still finding time for your home life and for your family life. So I'd say, time management is huge. And when you can't control it, like I couldn't do for a long time, it breaks you down. It can almost demoralize you. But I will say it also builds you up and makes you stronger and makes you a better entrepreneur by going through some of those things. I wouldn't wish some of the stuff I went through on anybody, but it was a lesson I needed to learn, and there was a reason for it.
Sometimes those lessons happen for you, right? Like, they teach you those key things that you just need to know.
Yes.
I think about, like, the fact that you've written 2 books, right? I'm sure that there's a lot of systems and processes and kind of time management that went into actually being able to write those and get those out as well. Like, talk to me about this evolution of now kind of authoring these 2 books, and really, for listeners, what these books really truly are all about and how they can help you.
Sure. Well, Service Without Excuses was really driven toward managers or owners when it came to things that would make them work in a business, and understanding, there's a ton of different examples, and I can't nearly get into it, but it's just basic concepts and philosophies that you can use in your business. And it works so well that they started saying, you know what, I'm going to have my staff get these books too as well. Again, tiny little read, and I'm going to have them read it and then come back. And I have one right now that quizzes them on it. It literally put a quiz together for it, saying, did you understand this? Did you understand what this was in the book? And that was very helpful. Yes, this one was actually, it's pretty simple to write because it's so small. And I had some help with it when it came to making sure, that it was edited correctly, and, it was in the right place, the right time. So that I paid for. Had a great guy, Dean Jackson, help me out with that book. And it was a really great thing. He's also a Canadian as well. The newer one, Welcome to the Review Society, was a little bit bigger of a book. And this was more about using reviews and the power of reviews. How I learned this was when I moved to New York City in 2013. I got into an apartment, didn't know where anything was. I'm not a New Yorker. I've lived in Philly for a number of years. I'm from Pennsylvania, moved to New York, and I went, wow, where do I go to eat? Where do I buy groceries? Where do I get clothing? Where do I get everything? Where do I get good Chinese? Everybody likes good Chinese. So I started using Yelp and other review sites, and I went, wow, this is pretty fascinating. You can find all this stuff out online. Then I started digging further and further into it, and then it really got crazy. It became a all-consuming thing to me. And right around the end of 2022, I'd say the middle of 2022, I wrote them and actually put the book out. And it's designed to teach service business owners, or really any business owner, to collect reviews. So in our service business, New Jersey's Best, one of the things that we are very blessed to have is between 3 and 7 on average jobs that come in per week that don't question price, that don't haggle with you, that don't get into a million questions. They hire you. So I was curious. Why did they hire us? And why were they so blown away? Your reviews. I get the feedback. And here's the thing about reviews. They're most likely people you don't know, and most likely people you will never know when it comes to feedback. But yet your customer and future client now is made a decision that you're the person to do work for them. And they're not questioning price. Once in a while you might get it, but they're buying based on the reputation of what somebody else has said on a review. Now, our business is now around 520 reviews. For our area, we're substantial. But we got into collecting reviews to get feedback from our customers and clients on how we did the job. We didn't care about them posting reviews. But then my friend developed an app, and I started looking into that, and I went, wow, okay, there's a system behind doing this. And that's really when I went wildfire on the book itself and said, people can create a systematic result out of collecting reviews and getting feedback from clients and making sure it's delivered to the proper search engines, that the content's being there. If they want to do a video review, great. Most do not. If they want to do a write-up review, that's what most do. That's fine. We have a system that it gets sent out automatically after every job. Once the completion's done on our invoicing, then a trigger goes out to send out that review.
Oh, so you've automated it then. So that's
automated it.
That's
yeah,
great.
You have to automate it. And one of the things I talk about in the book, and I've talked about in the masterclass that I taught as well, is that it shouldn't be in the technician's hand. What should be in the technician's hand or the staff's hand that's going in the house is saying, ma'am, sir, we really appreciate the opportunity to come into the house. Just to let you know, we really do value your feedback, and we actually get rewarded for feedback if you feel we did a good job. Our office is going to send you an email. I just want you to be out on the look for it. And in that, could you please, if you wouldn't mind, write what you really thought about the job. And if we get enough of them, certainly we're rewarded, or we can, win a contest or something like that. I wanted them to be open with that when the customers, that they were incentivized to do this, but that to let them know. And I made sure, I was already going to send out the review link because it's automatic, but I want them to be involved in it because it holds them accountable to doing a better job in the house, because they know it's going to go out. And it also holds them accountable to making sure that they mention it to them, so people on the lookout for this, and let them know. And I could easily have an office staff member say, hey, just let you know, we're going to send you a review link. But it's a lot more effective when it's done in the hands of the technicians out there. So that's really what it gets into. And I get into different programs and ways to collect it. I get into review sites that seem to work best for service businesses. They're ever evolving, obviously, but it's a real, that's where the review evangelist, somebody told me, hey, you sound like a review evangelist. Actually said, you sound like an evangelist. And the review evangelist kind of came out of it. So I am so passionate about collecting reviews and feedback. It is the great stabilizer to me. It's another stream of income. So not to go on a long tangent, but that's how passionate I am about reviews and collecting that.
It's building so critical, I think, when you look at reviews, right? Like I'm to pick Amazon. Last night, the products I bought, I didn't buy anything that was below 4 stars on Amazon. Like I need that. I want that feedback. Your restaurant, the same thing. Like you want that. Like when I was in the contact center space for about 10 years. And so I managed a contact center, and we were trying to collect feedback. I thought it was such a gift when you would get a review, because then it tells you either you're doing well or where you can change, where you can improve. Because I'm constantly always having that mentality of where can we be better? How can we be better today than we were yesterday? And it's through customer feedback that can really help do something and give you the insights of where maybe there are opportunities for improvement. I think the one challenge that I really see with companies who say they collect reviews or they try and capture customer feedback, when they don't do anything with it. you have to take next steps and do something with that feedback. It's one thing to collect it and say, yes, we've got a, 4 out of 5, average star review or whatever it's going to be. But like, well, what is about those 20% that aren't satisfied? What are we doing to fix that? What are your thoughts on that?
It makes a valid point. So that is something I've heard from clients in the past. I don't want to really collect reviews. Maybe they weren't real happy with the job. My guys are good, but they can be a little rough around it. And I just, it's laughable to me because I'm like, your whole goal is to generate your business, is to grow and scale your business. And if you're worried about your guys in the field doing a poor job, get new guys, get new staff. It's not a complex issue. You should be proud of the people you're sending in the house. And if you're worried that somebody's going to write your bad review all the time, guys, men and women, it's going to happen. You're going to get a bad review. It's just part of life. You're going to get a tough customer. We have a 100% money back guarantee. I just had to give somebody money back for something we had nothing to do with. But the guarantee is the guarantee. And the guarantee says if you are not 110% happy with the job for any reason at all, let us know and we'll refund your money. Now, it's not a common issue. Obviously, we wouldn't be in business to do that. And 99.9% of people out there are good people. But there are some that will take you to the bank and take advantage of you. Deal with it. It's just that's
the cost of business.
It's the cost of business. Fall on your own sword. And listen, guys, if you did make a mistake, fall on your own sword, fix it. Let them know you're going to go above and beyond. You might turn that person that had a bad experience into a freaking cheerleader that's just telling all their friends about how, they had a bad experience, but boy, did they fix it. And listen, the service is dead today. Great service and that type of thing is dead today. We have to kind of dig it right back out of the gutter because a lot of service companies don't do what they're supposed to do. They're not good with getting back to customers. I hear it all the time. I mean, I don't know how it was in Canada, but here in New Jersey, Metro New York, I had to call 5 people. One guy gave me a quote. I mean, it's insanity.
Has that been like a symptom of the last few years in the pandemic that we went through, that service is kind of starting to fall apart, or give
I think it made it worse. I think it accelerated it. I think it put it on speed because listen, you couldn't get, you can't get the IRS on the phone because you're trying to contact them to ask a question. It's a problem. You can't get they're in the business of pulling money out of us, generated income, and they couldn't do it. It really became a symptom. It almost put it on steroids that, it's acceptable because nobody really picks up the phone anymore. Well, we have systems in place with our business that if we're on the phone with a customer, we have a very simple automated booking system online that books you in real time. If you're a past client, it takes half a second. If you're a new client, it takes about 5 minutes. You can book the whole job in real time at your convenience when a truck will be there in your area. And it's simple. So we have things set up in place just if it doesn't work out. If we can't, and by the way, we always call you back. So if you booked online and you're saying we booked online, great, we're still going to call you back. We have systems in place to make sure that people don't fall through the cracks to the best of our ability. Unfortunately, sometimes things happen. Luckily, so far, we've been pretty fortunate with that. But, again, don't be afraid to fall on your own sword and make mistakes. But get things in place and systems in place to automate your business to where if you have to change people, you have to change a general manager, you have to change an office manager out, that your business will not take a hit for that. It might be a little bit of a few days of change, but trust me when I tell you don't want to feel that hit when everybody's locked to one particular thing or one particular person and that person is no longer there and everything just falls apart. These are things people need to understand and operate. I can't even fathom operating a service business without it today.
You raised this point that I think really aligns with what I do as well. Like one of the products that I have a thing called a 2-day all-in deep dive where I spend time going into someone's business, sitting with them and really trying to understand what their business is all about. And one of the options they can choose is we can look at, are you underutilizing technology, tools, processes in your business that can help you automate? Because I find that so many different business owners that I work with are working harder and their teams are working harder than they need to. And a lot of it's too manual. Their people are feeling like they're burnt out, they're overwhelmed, maybe they're a little stretched. Maybe the customer service sucks because they're not actually using the tools, the systems, the processes that they sometimes already have access to as well.
I agree. I've actually lit an operations manual and employee manuals on fire. Literally, I've taken them out
just in front, like in a team meeting or something.
Listen, you don't need. I have examples of different manuals here, but you don't need a manual that is this thick in order to teach your general manager how to do their job. It takes a couple of pages and some follow-up, and some benchmarks and some flow charts. It takes virtually nothing to put an operations manual for each person or an employee manual. So they're over redundant, overdone, antiquated. And honestly, today it should really be done online. You can back it up on a book. It's not a problem. But when we hire people, it's all digital. When I send somebody out as a prospective, they're going to get this sent to them, either texted to them or their email. A lot of guys are not into the email, even if they work for you. So here's the text. And as soon as you open that file up, we're going to know if you went through 1 page or 10 pages. There's the leverage of automation today. I will know if you read it all the way through. I will know page by page of what you saw, what you understood, and what you didn't, and what you signed off on, more importantly, because they're small books, but they have sections. So if you haven't signed off on it, I'll know. It's so automation's very, very important to a business. When I went into business 2005, and even when I ran other businesses in the past, I would have dreamed to have that. The internet was relatively new in the early 2000s. By the time I went into business, it was still pretty new. And CRM programs were for big business. They were unaffordable. They were things that were installed into computer systems. Now you can have a subscription for $50 a month to run 2 trucks. So, I mean, use technology to your benefit. It makes you, one key word, efficient. And in a business world, in the service business world in particular, you need to be efficient. We had crews out doing a country club yesterday. I actually was out there myself for a little bit. And and even the staff commented, like, man, you guys you go bang, just you do an area, you move this, you don't even question. I says, well, there's a system behind everything we do. And one of the guys who's out there has never been to the country club. So it's still a system that's been pre-established. It's an operating procedure. It's if you're in the military, SOPs or standing operating procedures and systems, it's the same thing. Once you have these things in place, they can start to think not out of the box, but they can start to think on their own. That's very important.
Absolutely. And I think it really comes through here really clearly is how much passion you have in this area. Is that what kind of maybe led you to start sharing more via your podcast and starting to build up more of your personal brand and starting to invest in yourself and really start to put yourself out there? Like I see you a lot, obviously, on LinkedIn. Is that like this passion that's really you kind of come out where you just want to give back and help people, or talk to me about that, like how you just started to again build this personal brand around yourself too?
Sure. Well, thank you. So I have passion in life because if I believe in something, I'm all in. Like your words, all in. So I think a lot of more people need to learn that term, those 2 words. In fact, I have it written down after hearing it from you. I have it on my board over here. It says all in or all out. Which one is it? And I think people need to have a passion. They don't have to necessarily fully like what they're doing, but they have a passion for it. I could be a cook or chef. I'd still have passion for it. I'm a musician. I have passion for it when I play. If I did anything in the world, I would have passion for it because I'm all in on whatever I'm deciding to do. And I think that's a lot of it. The podcast was actually a joke. I did a recording. So I started a couple of years ago, pre-COVID. It was one of those things. I did an interview with my friend. He's like, wow, you have a very good speaking voice and you're very, you seem to have a lot of information. You should do it. 112 episodes later, I don't put them out every day. I'm not one of those guys. So, but I try to fill them with content. Like I just did one today that was about 14 minutes long, but I made sure I could fit the content would flow in and that I would get review. And one thing I've been fortunate with is I've had a fair amount of downloads because the engagement has been there. It's been easy to understand. In fact, that's why they're planned out. So long story short, passion is something you have or you don't. It's sort of like common sense. People have it or don't. It's not, it's something you have to have in you, but many people are not in the business, I should say, or thought process of developing their passion. When I started playing guitar at the age of 7 years old, I was a horrible guitar player. By the time I was in my 20s, I was still horrible. No, I'm kidding. I was actually, I was teaching at that point in time. So whatever I got into as passion, and whatever I wasn't. Now, I know how to build a house. I know how framing works. I know structure. I know how weight-bearing walls work. I know how the plumbing works. You don't want me building your house. Why? Even though I'm interested in that, I'm not going to have any real passion behind that because that's not my wheelhouse. This is one thing I'll say probably everybody needs to hear. Stick to a couple things you do really well and get rid of the rest. Stick to a couple things you do really well and get rid of the rest. You can outsource it, do whatever you can, but really define it. I have a client right now that is a jack of all trades. He does 10 different things in the service industry. I said, man, you should do 3. He's like, what? I said, 3. Be really focused and really great on the 3. Because I could tell you that 80% or the 80-20 rule, 80% of your money is being made with those 3. And the rest of them are just, you can call them marketing costs or acquisition costs, but really they're just a waste of time. Be really good on the couple things you're really good at. Those 3 things, define what they are. And that's what you need to spend your time and your passion about, in my opinion.
That is exactly why I wanted to have you on as a guest, for that exact type of comment, because that is so brilliant. And I think people who are listening to this and see this need to remember that. Like, don't try and go all in on everything, because you're really not effectively going to be able to do that. The 80-20 rule is so important. I was coaching someone earlier today, actually had this very similar conversation. Is what you just said there, Rob. Is like, someone was trying to figure out what they were trying to do next. And they're spitting out a ton of ideas about this, this, and this. And I'm like, well, what are you passionate about? What do you truly want to do? And go all in on just a few things. Don't go all in on everything, because you're not going to be effective. But I think some people they spread themselves, too thin, or they take a lot of advice from a lot of other people. The thing that I think is a reality for a lot of entrepreneurs is shiny object syndrome is a real thing. Like, it is hard to block out all the new stuff that kind of pops up there, but you have to find a way to, cancel out the noise.
Yeah. My father used to call people that did that, it's term jack of all trades. He would call him a jackass of all trades, because he said nobody can be good at everything. And the truth is, you can't. You have to define what makes you, what you can put passion behind, what you can do. The reason I started and I'm developing the Rob M Lyon brand is because I have passion for it. That's it. Do I like cleaning somebody's rugs or tile? I actually really do. But that's not my life mission. As you get older, you start going, you know what? What am I really focused on? What do I really want to accomplish in life? What's going to be my quote unquote legacy? If there's going to be a legacy, it's probably not going to be because I did a good job cleaning their tile and grout. It's probably because I taught somebody how to build a business on how to clean tile and grout correctly, and they can train people under them and grow and scale their business. It's not going to be from, the technical side of it. I've done that. And that's great. And that's well needed, but that's not where my gift or my passion can be distributed correctly.
Just so much value that you're dropping here, Rob. Thank you for that. Last question, because I don't want to keep you, but like, you are so passionate. Obviously, we've been just talking about this, but also like inspiring. But who's inspiring you? Like, is there somebody out there that if you had the opportunity to sit down with them for like a dinner or drinks and just kind of, have a nice, sit down, just you and them, that like you could, whether it's a business owner, past, present, who's that person that you would just love to really connect with and learn more from, that's really inspiring you?
So there's several influences I've had. Some are still in my life right now as mentors. But if I was to say I had a maybe 8-second conversation with them at the business he started, and we talked about him earlier on, Wine Library, which is here in New Jersey, it would be Gary Vaynerchuk. And people say, how could you have a conversation with Gary V? He's all over the place. He's not all over the place. He is extremely focused. He is the epitome of passion. And I think he is a person that if you listen to him, you only need to listen to one sentence to get it. You don't need to listen to a whole book. I have his books. I have all his books. And I'm a fan. And I thank my friend Rob for turning me on to him many, many years ago before I ever even moved to New Jersey, and said, you got to follow this guy. He's a ball of energy. He's straight out passion. He swears a lot. He's this. I'm like, well, that's cool, I guess. And I'll listen to him. And the first time I heard him on speaking, I think I downloaded something on YouTube, and that was it. So Gary V would be it. I have a guest coming up named Evan Carmichael that I've been a big fan of for a long time. He's also a Canadian, and he's coming up on my podcast. That's a big one, and I'm actually going to get the opportunity to do that. So I'm very blessed. Gentleman named Jay Abraham, probably the best marketing strategist that's ever walked the earth, in my opinion, especially in small business. He was behind Icy Hot and stuff. There's endless people I could say, let me sit down and talk to, but really, you get the best information from people that nobody's heard of. They're the people that have done it. I just said in a post, a millionaire doesn't need to talk about being a millionaire, just like a lion doesn't need to tell other animals in the jungle that they're the lion. No pun on my own last name, but they don't need to do that. They've already successfully done that. They've learned the humility and humbleness. You're very rarely going to talk to a uber wealthy person on a one-on-one and they're going to be obnoxious assholes. It's not what people think. I'm not saying they aren't out there. I'm just telling you they've usually paved their own way and learned to respect and understand fully and be grateful for what they have. Gratefulness is a big thing. Going around to Gary Vaynerchuk, he likes to talk about kindness and having that vulnerability and having that humility to your life. And I've seen Gary even evolve, and Gary's a bit younger, a couple of years younger than me, but unreal. There's your answer. Gary V.
Well, again, I think you ended there talking about, gratitude. And I just want to say I am grateful for you being on the show here today. How can people, connect with you, follow your journey, see more about what you're doing, and maybe if they're in Jersey, if they need your help and support, what kind of, talk to me about where the business and where they can follow you.
Well, the nice thing is we work with clients all over the world. I have clients overseas. I have clients here in the United States. So being that we're in the remote world, I can work with anybody. The best way to start is go to robmlyon.com. That's ROBMLYON, not like King of the Jungle, LYON, like the city in France. .com. You can get my links there. You can also find me on LinkedIn, which obviously we're both very active on that. I found that is the best platform rather to get the right content out to help people. I really believe that. You're talking to a lot of business owners. When you pull down the analytical side of LinkedIn, you could see who's looking at you through your premier portion, and I'm hitting the right demographic. That's what it tells me, that the message is to the right people. A lot of business owners, some managers, CEOs are the smaller port, and that's fine. That's not who I'm marketing to, but we work with anybody. So robmlyon.com, or you can find me on YouTube with the same name. The website will take you pretty much anywhere. So I like to say that's a one and done, but I'm very proud of the LinkedIn profile that I've had a lot of help putting together with Shay's help. So
yeah, definitely. Again, follow Rob, connect with him. And I will say this too, on LinkedIn, you're not going to find a better person who's going to be more supportive and be there in the comments to help you grow with encouragement and just honestly giving such valuable advice. So I just want to say thank you so much, my friend, for the help and support that you have given me and the inspiration that you have as well. Because you were so thoughtful with every comment that you put out there, as well as you're engaging with other people's content, but also your own. So you're doing a fantastic job.
It's truly my pleasure. Listen, I started somewhere too as well, and I had to learn, like I said, some lessons the hard way and some the better way through people influencing me. And I think it needs to come back. I think if you're lucky enough to learn something in this world, you're lucky enough to help other people in this world, you should be paying that forward. And a lot of that is free. And we do a lot of free stuff to help people too as well, because we want them to succeed before they ever really come into our universe, so to speak. So thank you, Chris. It's really been an honor being on your podcast today.
Well, I appreciate you being on the show. And again, I think we could probably have another one down the road here, because there's probably so much value. So thank you so much.
Vice versa. I got to get you on mine next.
There we go. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, buddy.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Chris Hanna Show. As always, the latest episodes are available to listen and subscribe to on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. You can also follow The Chris Hanna Show on LinkedIn, Instagram, or Twitter for more resources and solutions, including blog posts, toolkits, ebooks, speaking sessions, and more. Visit chrishanna.ca today. We look forward to connecting again with you soon for another episode of The Chris Hanna Show.